I came across an article the other day written by prominent atheist philosopher Micheal Ruse. The article was called, "I'm an Atheist, but thank God I'm not a new atheist." So let's go ahead and get right into it. If this is your first time here, hit that sub button and meme team. You guys ready? Then let's go! In the article, he talks about a few things, including his objections to Christianity, which I might discuss in another video. But in this video, I want to discuss what his problems are with the new atheism, and you can let me know if you think that it sounds like what we observe online today. By the way, if you want to read the full article, I put the link in the description. So let's just go ahead and read from the article, and then we can see what his views are that rub some atheists the wrong way. Science can't answer all questions. Uh-oh, I can already see some atheists fuming. I take these as genuine questions. Why is there something rather than nothing? What is sentience that a machine can indeed think? Science doesn't answer them. It is open for others to try. That means religion. And it does offer answers. I believe Christianity offers serious answers to serious questions, which is why it gets me into so much trouble with some of my atheist brethren. I could imagine. The answers may be along these lines. There's something rather than nothing because a good God created things. There's a sentience because we humans are made in the image of God. It doesn't mean that these answers cannot be questioned, but they must be questioned on philosophical or theological grounds, not scientifically. So why not God for me? Most importantly, I say that religious belief, and Christian religious belief in particular, relies first and foremost on revelation, faith, and not reason. In fact, this was a major point of contention when I discussed these issues with my Christian protagonist, Professor John Lennox, in our live audience edition of The Big Conversation. Yeah, I could imagine why it would be a major point of contention. Lennox was keen to present a case for faith that was evidential and not just revelatory. But if you allow an atheist to have an opinion on it, I don't think that's the way Christians should approach faith. So why then am I not a new atheist? Partially, it's aesthetic. They are so vulgar. Dawkins and the God Delusion would fail any introductory philosophy of religion course. To take one example, the ontological argument was first devised by Anselm and refurbished by Descartes. Roughly, it runs thus. God is by definition that than which none greater can be thought. Does he exist? Suppose he doesn't. Then there is a greater who does exist. Contradiction, hence God exists. In the God Delusion, Richard Dawkins dismisses this long-standing and much debated philosophical argument with a few sneering paragraphs. His critique is on par with someone arguing against Dawkins' own body of work by saying that selfish genes cannot exist because genes cannot be selfish, and with about as much understanding or sensitivity. But hardly any serious theologian or philosopher thinks that the ontological argument is valid in the way that I just described it. It has been reframed and reworked. Every serious theologian and philosopher knows that the argument leads us into important and sophisticated questions about the nature of existence. Does the notion of necessary existence, which must surely be true of God if he exists, even make sense? And so forth. To arrogantly dismiss the argument as bad scholarship, and worse still, bad taste. Ironically, I get on better with many of my Christian interlocutors than I do with many atheists. Sounds like an athememer. What do you think this says about modern atheism? Now, what's interesting here is that Ruse rightly informs us that Dawkins has no idea what he's talking about when he arrogantly dismisses the arguments for theism, and that he dismisses these arguments on a level that any first-year philosophy student understands better than Dawkins. Instead of seriously doing his homework, Dawkins puts a minimal emphasis on understanding and wrestling with the arguments for theism and Christianity correctly, and he pumps a maximum emphasis on rhetoric and emotion. The same is true for the other new atheists. So it's no wonder why Dawkins and company were the ones who were basically responsible for the movement of what we see online today as online atheism. For the most part, we have very little substance, lots of emotional objections being made, little to no real understanding of the arguments that they believe that they've debunked, and so on, just as it is with Dawkins and the rest of the new atheists. We can only hope that the next generation of atheists will follow Ruse's example, at least in this area. They can start taking the time to understand exactly what they're rejecting, instead of arrogantly and obnoxiously declaring that they debunked every single argument for believing in God and Christianity. The good news is, Ruse isn't alone here, because each day I meet more and more athememers who are nothing like that type of atheist that you just heard described. They're far and few between, but they're a pleasant minority. So the next time that you meet an atheist who claims that he's debunked all of the arguments for God's existence with some lazy one-liners that he's learned from his favorite YouTube atheist, what are you gonna say? What do you mean?